Welcome, everybody, to another QB Power Hour. We're very glad to have you all joining us today. Our topic today is we're giving you a preview of a couple sessions Hector and I are doing at Scaling New Heights. I just realized you guys weren't sharing my screen, so you should be seeing it here shortly. So welcome to this QB Power Hour. One more second. Let me get to the right screen because you're seeing my desktop. There we go. So welcome finally to another QB Power Hour. Again, this is a preview of Scaling New Heights. I pulled out one tiny little topic from my session on effective marketing for accounting professionals. Actually, I'm just pulling out one that I think is very beneficial, and hopefully you guys all can get some stuff from that. And Hector's going to be talking some of his session on effectiveness trumps efficiency. So we're giving you a preview of some of our Scaling New Heights sections that are coming up here in just a little while. So I hope you guys will all join this. And it's great for Hector and I to be together on the same webinar because so often I'm doing one or he's doing the other one. So I'm thrilled that we're doing this one together. And best of all, those of you that are near Orlando or Miami, Hector and I are presenting down there next week. We'd love to have you join us for some certification training. If you're in the Florida area, that's next week. We'd love to see you there. So first, a little bit about our agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about QB Power Hour, our sponsors and the host. Hector will cover the CPE process, and then we'll also talk about our main topic. Again, we're going to talk a little bit about some marketing tips, and then also Hector's going to talk about his session as well. So first of all, our QB Power Hour is a webinar series every other Thursday. So usually every other Thursday. We'll probably change the next one. I'm not sure, Hector, what we got scheduled because next one, I think, is during the week of Scaling New Heights. But anyway, we cover topics on QuickBooks Desktop and online, as well as a lot of times we'll have special guests with third-party apps, practice management topics, or other topics that are useful for you as accounting professionals. My name is Michelle Long. I'm an accounting professional in the Kansas City, Missouri area. I've had my own practice for a long time, but I've been a trainer for Intuit, a contract trainer for Intuit for the past 10 years. I really love going on the road and meeting lots of you in various cities across the U.S. and everything. So I'm glad to have you joining us here today. Hector, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Hector Garcia. I live and work in the Miami, Florida area. I have my own classroom in there where we teach QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. I'm a member of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network. There's my email address and my Twitter handle if you want to communicate with me directly.
Great. Thank you, Hector. And let's go ahead and go to the next one. Do you want to go ahead and thank our sponsors?
Yeah, we'd like to thank TSheets, #1 rated app in apps.com. It's now an Intuit company. So we should see more integration coming in the future, deeper integration with the software. Allows you to create, manage, and approve your own timesheets. We also like to thank Arrow Workflow for being a sponsor for a whole year. All three of these sponsors have been sponsors for a whole year. This will be the 1-year anniversary of the sponsorship. It's the only workflow manager created for QuickBooks Pro Advisors by QuickBooks Pro Advisors and is fully integrated with QuickBooks Online. Go to www.arrowworkflow.com. And lastly, we have HubDoc, our third sponsor. It's the most popular document aggregator for QuickBooks Online, can automate document fetching from financial institutions. You can also use it to upload and manage your own receipts and bills. Go to hubdoc.com/QB Power Hour to get your free account if you're an accounting professional.
Very good. Keep going, Hector.
Yeah, and this is all these webinars are eligible for CPE as long as you attend them live in GoToWebinar. We do have the recordings posted in YouTube after the fact, but there's no CPE for the recordings. You must be logged in for at least 50 minutes and answer 3 out of the polling questions that we randomly spread throughout the webinar. And the CPE certificates will be emailed to you within 3 weeks or so. And this one is not approved for ACE. We have done ACE credits before. If you don't know what ACE is, it probably doesn't matter anyway. And we also don't have any ACE scheduled so far. We're still waiting communication from Intuit to see what that will look like in the next coming months. And so this session is going to be a preview of 2 of the sessions that Michelle Long and I are doing at Scaling New Heights. This will be my 6th year attending the conference and my 5th year teaching. So I'm very excited about that. Michelle Long, I think She's probably attended or taught as much as me or more in the conference and other conferences alike. It's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, June 17th to June 20th. Go to www.scalingnewheights.com. They are not sponsoring us, and this is not an endorsement. We support the conference because we teach in it and because we have a lot of friends that we met there and we meet there. And one of the most exciting things about being at those conferences is just to talking to other folks that think like us and think with us. Michelle is teaching QuickBooks Online Cert Prep because they always have QuickBooks Online Cert Prep, and she's
And let me just clarify on that. There's two certifications going on. There's the core regular certification and the advanced certification. I'm going to be doing some of the advanced cert sessions. So just as a clarification.
Yeah, so my mistake on the slide. She's doing advanced certification also.
That's okay.
Which is the same thing we're doing together in Miami of Thursday of next week. And she's doing creating a comprehensive marketing plan, which is she's taking a small excerpt from that and teaching it in today's webinar. And I'm teaching a new class, new to me. I've never taught this type of stuff before, called Effectiveness Trumps Efficiency in Relationship Work, which I'll be doing a preview on today's episode. And I'll also be teaching educational videos and QuickBooks Enterprise Advanced Inventory, which is a two-part session. It's going to be pretty long, about 3 hours long worth of content.
Great. And if you guys happen to be at Scaling New Heights, please reach out to Hector and I. We'd love to see you guys there and get some pictures and things like that. It's always fun getting together with people and getting some photos and things like that. So let's get together and do some pics. All right, so I'm going to give you a sneak peek of mine. I'm just doing, like I said, this is just one little bullet piece out of there. And the reason I picked this one to share with you all is because I think it will be helpful for all of us, okay? So first of all, before we do that, though, we do need to get to one of our first poll questions. I've seen a couple questions on have you done a poll yet? So first of all, I want to know, from curiosity's sake, are you all using social media? Are you using social media for your business? So be honest here. There's no shame or no worries about any of that stuff. So let's just know about your polling question, or I'm sorry, know about your social media use by answering this polling question. Because what I've been finding, and your guys' answers is proving it out, about 40 to 50% of you still are not using social media for your business at all. Not at all. And I really wish you would, because there's a lot of potential clients that we can be getting from social media. And so the results here are showing that out. We've already got 90% of you that have answered it. The faster you answer these polling questions, the faster we can move on. So I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds, and that will be a full minute yet. So go ahead and answer that. And then Hector, they see your name and they see my name under your screen. So I'm myself and Hector. Yeah, we're the same person, LOL. Usually you don't see us together, so you never know. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give you, close the polling question in 3, 2, 1, and I'll just verbally read these results to you. 41% of you aren't using social media at all. 32%, well, I'll just go ahead and share it real quick. 32% are using it a little. 17% some. So very few of you are really using social media that much, and you really should be, because it is a big part of your marketing and stuff. But let's go ahead and talk now about this content here. Let's talk about the most effective marketing methods for accountants. First of all, for many years, and I just did the Intuit QuickBooks virtual conference, I think a week ago, or was that 2 weeks? Anyway, we had thousands of accounting professionals on there, and I asked, what is your #1 source of new clients? And it's always referrals. Some people might call it word of mouth or whatever, but it's always referrals, because we have a special industry with, dealing with sensitive financial information. People want to know, like, and trust who they're doing business with. They're not just going to look up someone and call you if they don't know you, like you, and trust you. So referrals are the #1 most effective method of getting new clients for us as accounting professionals. So how do we cultivate these referrals? How do we get people to refer new clients to us? Here's a list, and I don't have time to talk about all of these, but first of all, make sure you're reaching out to your current clients. Let them know all the services and things that you do and that you offer and other things that you can help them with in their small business, especially right now as our industry is changing away from bookkeeping and we're automating all of these processes. We need to be providing more consulting services and advisory services for our clients. So we want to make sure they know what we can do. So your current clients are a great source of new business from themselves, but also from other small business owners that they know. So ask your current clients for referrals. Other accountants and bookkeepers, you all should not look at one another as competition. There's more than enough work to go around out there. And the reality is our industry has gotten so complex, especially with all these third-party apps. There's no way you can be an expert in everything. So what you'll want to do is network with your peers. Whether, I know some people, let's say I got a client that needs inventory. I know certain people who are specialists in fishbowl inventory. I know other people that are specialists when it comes to manufacturing inventory. I know people who are specialists when it comes to e-commerce and retail. Somebody else that's a nonprofit specialist. So know people that are specialized in certain industries. For me, this was a great source of referrals as I built my practice over the years because I realized I hated doing taxes. I don't even like doing my own taxes. And so what I did is I got to know other accountants who enjoy doing taxes. And I'm like, that's great. You know what? I love doing QuickBooks. I want to do the setup, the training, and the troubleshooting, and so I would exchange referrals with other accountants and tax practitioners. They would send me their QuickBooks clients, and they knew I wouldn't steal their client, and I would in turn send them my QuickBooks clients so they could do the tax return. So it was a great source of mutual referrals. So your accountants and bookkeepers can be a great source of referrals as well. Then I don't have time again to go through all of these, but let me quickly point out, for example, other people locally or online, attorneys, insurance agents, real estate agents, bankers, other small business owners, other people who are also working with small business owners are great sources of referrals. Now, you just can't walk into your local bank and say, hey, hi, Mr. Banker, I do QuickBooks work and I'm an accountant or a bookkeeper. Can you refer small businesses to me? They're not going to refer anybody to you if they don't know you, right? So remember, know, like, and trust. So you need to build a relationship with them. Ask them if you can take them out for coffee. And then do that on a regular basis as you're getting to know them. Maybe every month for sure when you're first getting started. Then you might be able to go to every quarter once you have a good relationship with them. But you've got to get to know these people. Then also, these are other great sources over here. Remember to let people know, and this is a good one here, the former classmates or coworkers, this is part of why you want to be on social media. You want to be on Facebook. You want to be on LinkedIn, Instagram, things like that. The people that you went to school with, for example, in high school, I went to a guy who's now an attorney in our local town here, and so he's working with small businesses to help them incorporate things. He and I can exchange a referral. Another guy I went to high school with is a pediatrician. His wife does the accounting for their office, but she needed help with payroll. So the people that you used to work with or you used to go to school with, they can be a great source of referrals as well. So all of these other people, basically everywhere you're going, including your family and friends, you need to let them know what type of client you're looking for. I emphasize QuickBooks because I don't want the tax clients. And so, I'm letting them know what type of client I'm looking for and, what type of services that you're providing. So you always can be having them helping you to get new clients and get referrals from them. One of the things that's very, very useful, especially over here, is you're going about your daily life. You're taking the kids to soccer practice or softball or baseball practice or dance club, or you yourself are going golfing or you're going to your knitting club or whatever it is that you're doing in your daily life. Wear QuickBooks logo merchandise. You can get the QuickBooks logo. Intuit has a press kit where you can get high quality logos, and you can go to anywhere you want to get a shirt made or a hat made or a lapel pin, whatever it is that you want to wear. Wear QuickBooks logo merchandise. And I can tell you this, I shared this in a session last fall at QuickBooks Connect. and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but they were actually selling QuickBooks merchandise at QuickBooks Connect, and he bought one of those vests, and he was wearing it home from the conference, and he was in a coffee shop somewhere, and he followed up with me after the conference. He says, Michelle, I want to let you know your tip paid for that vest that I bought because I got a new client immediately wearing that jacket or that vest. So it really does work to wear that stuff. Now, I'll admit, I've gotten to where, I travel a lot. And when you're on a plane and you're stuck in this small tube flying through the sky, right? You're trapped for 2 hours. So I used to have a QuickBooks logo tag on my bag, my carry-on bag with my computer and everything. So people would ask, oh, do you know QuickBooks? And I used to answer, and I'd answer their questions, and then I'm stuck for like 2 hours. They keep asking things, right? So now I've learned to say when they ask, you know QuickBooks? I'll say, nah, I just got that at a conference. Sometimes we just want peace and quiet, right? But it does work, so I encourage you to do that. Remember, you want to do local networking. There's a lot of different groups in your area. There's chambers, there's BNI, Business Networking International. There's other groups that are local. Some groups are better than others, so you'll want to make sure you check them out, go to them. A lot of them allow you to go to free for 1 or 2 meetings. If it doesn't quite feel right, go to a different one. There's a chamber in every city. Especially if you're in a big city where you have a lot of suburbs, there's going to be a lot of chambers, one for each suburb practically. So you'll want to check out the various groups and see which one might be comfortable for you. When you attend a group meeting, you have to engage. You have to participate with people. You have to talk to them and then follow up after that session. Hey, it was great to meet you. Here's my contact information. I hope to see you at the next meeting. So you're starting to build those relationships, all right? So again, it's all about relationships. But we can do this online as well, not just locally. Now we're building online relationships with people through social media. Just like in real life, people need to know, like, and trust you. How do they get to know, like, and trust you in social media? Well, you're posting useful and relevant content for them, things that are going to help them in their business. You're sharing tips, you're sharing different articles that are great information for them. Like 80% of the time. You don't want to be 100% business, and you want to do some personal out there as well. Let them know, your favorite hockey team just won in the Stanley Cup or whatever, your favorite basketball team or your favorite baseball team, or, share some things out there. Make sure that if it's something you wouldn't do or say or post in front of your mother, your grandmother, your priest, your rabbi, your kids, whatever, don't post it online. As you've seen, many stars and politicians, they'll post something and delete it. It doesn't matter. It's there forever. The people screenshot it and stuff. So don't post anything that could be embarrassing to you or that is questionable, okay? So always just keep that in mind. Then also, over time, what happens is you're developing relationships with these people that you know online, and it can lead to new clients, either from them or from other people. And this is what's great. When Hector and I and everybody goes to Scaling New Heights or we go to QuickBooks Connect, it's amazing. You'll see all these people. Oh, my gosh, it's so nice to meet you in person, because they've got to know each other online. They feel like they know one another already, and then they meet in person. So you can and do get referrals from social media. So I encourage you to be using that. And I have a poll question for you on social media in just a moment here. But let me real quickly just cover a couple best practices on these referrals, and then I got to turn it over to Hector. First of all, always keep in touch with the source of your referrals. Like I said, it's a relationship. You need to keep in touch with them, especially in the beginning, and then you can taper off to once a quarter. But you need to keep in touch with people to keep that relationship alive. Always follow up on a referral. So let's say somebody says, oh, Michelle, you should contact her Hector. He might be able to use your help. I need to follow up with Hector. That is a warm lead. When somebody gives you a referral, follow up on it. I've seen so many situations where people just don't follow up. You're not going to get the client if you don't follow up. So you've got to reach out and contact that person that they referred you to. Then also, whoever gave you the referral, follow up with them and let them know what happened. For example, there was somebody in Colorado, in Denver. I was at a conference, and I've met people out there, and I know people out there. Anyway, somebody wanted somebody local in the Denver area for a job. And so I said, oh, well, you should contact so-and-so. I'm just going to say Betty Bookkeeper. You should contact Betty. She should be able to help you out. I never heard back from Betty. I don't know whether she got the client. I don't know whether it was a bad fit for her. I don't know anything. I'm not likely to send Betty more referrals. What you want to do is follow up with whoever sent you that referral. So, for example, I would follow up and I'd say, thank you so much for the referral. I spoke with Betty. She's not or I spoke with whoever the potential client is. I spoke with them. She really needed tax help, and that's not what I do. So I referred her on to Hector. So let them know what happens, and that's also teaching them. I don't want tax clients, right? So you're teaching them what makes a good client for you. On the other hand, if she became a client, follow up and say, thank you so much. I'm able to help this person, and she's now a client of mine. I really appreciate the referral. You might consider sending them a thank you gift, maybe a Starbucks gift card or some restaurant gift card or Amazon gift card. It doesn't have to be significant, but something. Some people use things like send out cards. We actually can send out little brownies or little cake pops or something to thank them. It's that nice gesture that helps keep those referrals coming to you. And you might want to consider using a CRM app, Customer Relationship Manager, to manage those contacts and leads. Now, I'm going to go ahead and launch this next poll question before I turn it over to Hector. And what I would like you to do is tell me, would you like a webinar on social media? Basically, how to post content, how to share content, how to start using social media, some tools that can help you manage it more effectively, as well as some tips and things like that. I've been considering doing one. I do them for everybody else. I have not done one for QB Power Hour, I don't think. So I'm just wondering, is that a session that you would like to see for a future QB Power Hour? Or maybe a special QB Power Hour if we needed to do it on another date or time or something. So just let me know your interest on that polling question here. And somebody else said, where can we get the QuickBooks apparel? Again, if you go to intuit.com and you go to the press website under Intuit Corporate, they have a press kit. And in the press kit, there's very high quality QuickBooks logos. Once you have that logo, you can order your own QuickBooks merchandise. Any of these places that print things, you see them all over the place where they'll print shirts or hats or bags or stickers or whatever it is that you want. So you might want to check into that. And somebody says they're disappointed in me because they've contacted me and I haven't returned their inquiries. And I would like to apologize if I haven't responded to your inquiries. I had surgery a couple months ago on my back, and I have been recuperating. And yes, I am behind on my emails, and I'm struggling to catch up with that. So I am trying. So I apologize. I've been going through a tough few months with all this stuff. Still trying to get it all programmed correctly. I'm bionic now, by the way. All right, I'm going to give you 2 more seconds to close this polling question. So closing in 1 and 2. 50% said definitely and 40% said sure. So sounds like that might be something we would want to do in the future. All right, Hector, I've been talking a lot, and I know you have an awful lot to cover, so I'm going to turn it over to you now. And let you take it from here.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay, all right, let me take over the presentation. I'd like to answer to that person that was saying they're disappointed because they can't get a hold of you. So I like to just make a clear distinction that just because we're out there and doing webinars and creating content doesn't mean that we're like patiently waiting for someone to email us so we can answer the email. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to manage as many questions that we get via email. So we created a Facebook group called QB Power Hour, where we have not just Michelle and I, but hundreds of people that support the webinar series, and they're very in-depth part of the community. And they tend to answer a lot of the questions. So we don't think that we have the capacity to answer all the questions that we can get via email. So that's why I like to answer that person publicly. That if you have questions for us, ask it in the Power Hour Facebook group.
That's a really good point, Hector, because that's a really active group, and you all are great about helping one another. And like Hector says, we literally get hundreds and hundreds of emails, and it is hard to keep up with all that, especially when you're out of commission for a while.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so let me take over, and thank you, Michelle. So the other session, I'm teaching a session called Effectiveness Trumps Efficiency in Relationship Work. And this is the first time of me teaching this, because generally I teach QuickBooks classes. And this was strictly a practice management, thought provoking type of session. So I figured I'll put some of the slides that I'll be teaching live here in today's presentation. And we may not get through all of them. So we're going to kind of test the speed of it. This also allows me to kind of adjust it for the live presentation. So you guys will be the guinea pigs as well for this. Okay, so let's start. So the general message behind the fact that effectiveness trumps efficiency is that we want to evolve from the firm of the past to the firm of the future. The firm of the past sells time, or they're in the business of exchanging time for money, where the formula for revenue was multiplying your capacity hours, right? Your total number of hours you can work times your hourly rate times your efficiency. So I would say, how often you can, how much stuff you can output per hour or something like that, right? That's the firm of the past. The firm of the future is focused on profits, and profits are about multiplying or using the inputs that are really valuable to both the firm and the customers. We have intellectual capital, which is what you learn how to do and why you do it. We have your effectiveness, which is your capacity to produce results. And we're going to deep dive into that. And then we have value pricing. And I don't want to talk about value pricing at all on this one because value pricing deserves probably its own 8-hour webinar. But I'll talk about just one of the components of the firm of the future formula, which is effectiveness. And at the end of the day, what we want to sell is a transformation. We want to be the catalyst to transforming our clients to be better business people or having better information to make better decisions so they themselves can have a more profitable, successful business. So the first thing is sales is vanity, profit is sanity. How many times have you sat in front of a customer that they're obsessed about selling their first million, or that's all they think about? Oh, this month we sold 100,000. Next month we're going to sell 120,000. Finally, next year we're going to have 20 employees, and they have this really strange obsession with a number, and that number is completely arbitrary. Like for some of my small clients, getting to $1 million, it's a dream come true, and some of my other clients, $1 million would be absolutely devastating to their business based on their current business model. So people obsess a lot about these numbers without thinking about what really matters, and what really matters is profit. Now, the word profit, I just don't mean economic profit. I mean profit from every sense of the word. For example, when you hire someone to cut your hair, right? Just want to say something as random and trivial as that. You spend $20 for a haircut, $30 for my haircut. If it's my wife, probably $100 for a haircut, and you don't think about what's your profit in the situation. You're paying to get a haircut, but you know what your profit is? You walk out looking good and feeling good about yourself, and all business transactions have that sort of hidden in it, and sometimes we only think about the numerical portion of it, and sales are important. I mean, sales will drive profit if you have consistent margins. But I believe it's just much better to focus on what are the activities that make you money versus the activities that move the needle. So with that, I'm going to basically talk about a lot of things I learned from my mentors, and a couple of books that I read that really have changed my practice. Peter Drucker has had a huge influence on me. He's a very famous management consultant. And he says, because the purpose of a business is to create a customer, and I would add create and maintain both, the two most important functions of a business are innovation and marketing. So when I heard that, and I didn't see accounting as one of them, it was devastating, because I'm like, I thought that accounting was a really important function of the business, and it's not. It's absolutely not. The two most important are innovation and marketing, and there's one place where accountants can play a huge role in our clients' lives, which mostly is the innovation piece. Okay, but at the same time, also marketing indirectly, because if we take time away from our customers where they are spending doing mundane tasks, data entry, trying to reconcile the banks, and just being really frustrated with the numbers, when you give them back that time and you take care of that task, usually what your customer does with that time is business development, is visiting customers, is marketing. So we can have an impact in our clients in both of these things, according to Peter Drucker, being the two most important things or two most important functions of a business. So, if we deep dive into the firm of the future model here, innovation will be driven by intellectual capital, and innovation will be driven by effectiveness. And usually, when we talk about value pricing is more of the marketing aspect or the branding aspect, the positioning aspect, and marketing can also drive effectiveness because if we can bring the right customers, we can be more effective by just doing what we're best at. So when we follow this formula, and at the end we focus on profit, and we do make profit, and profit is not a dirty word in any sense of the word. Profit is a positive thing. We take those profits and do what? Reinvest it back in innovation, right? Apps, technology, infrastructure, the things that really help us to be better, training ourselves, education, and we reinvest that profit back in marketing, as Michelle said, being such an important component of the business. So transform your practice, transform your clients. The three components are consistently have a plan to build and grow your intellectual capital, which is both your personal knowledge, your capacity, and your team's knowledge and capacity. And make sure that stuff is not temporary, that is permanent. What anyone in your team learns needs to be something that everyone simultaneously learns. Two, become effective and forget efficiency. Not gonna say that you should forget efficiency. What I'm saying is you want to be effective even at the risk of losing efficiency. And that's what I'm going to deep dive into in the next couple of minutes. And become value driven. That means, just think about the value you bring and then price accordingly. This is pretty much another word for value pricing. So let's talk about working relationship and relationship work. And Michelle mentioned the word relationship a few times when she was talking about marketing. A work relationship can be defined as the result of a relationship that is derived from the health of the work. So when you have a good working environment, typically people that work in that environment have a working relationship, okay? Which is a little bit different in contrast of relationship work, which relationship work is where the results are driven from the health of the relationship. And what I like to propose here is that the health of the relationship is more important than the health of the work. Because the health of the relationship, even with unhealthy work, has a much bigger potential to turn around that business, turn around that work, and make that work better. But the most important thing that anchors relationship at work is the mutual experiences that you learn while working together, right? Think about when you were in school and you did school projects and you did team projects. Think about the relationships you made with those people because you were both working towards the same goal. So anyone you study with or you did projects with, you have this special bond with. In the accounting profession, we tend to make these two the relationship very isolated. The client gives me stuff, I prepare financial statements, I give it to the client is responsible for the results, right? When you focus on the relationship with your approach to it is that we are doing this together, or we're working towards the same work together. So I'll ask this question just for you to think about it. Up to you. What do you think is more important, relationship work or a work relationship? Okay, so let's talk about efficiency versus effectiveness. So our profession is obsessed with efficiency. I mean, I hear the word efficiency and efficient 100 times when I go to conferences and meet with my fellow accountants. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the word efficiency. Efficiency is not evil. And efficiency is, achieving the maximum productivity with minimum waste of effort. I mean, we want that, right? We want to get as much out with as little work as possible. And Peter Drucker defines efficiency as doing things right. Okay, um, it, and so it is possible to be efficient and not be effective. The effectiveness is the degree to which something is successful in producing the desired result or success. So effectiveness is doing the right things. So efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. I will give you an example of that is going to be very illustrative. Doing the wrong things correctly, it's a doing the wrong things correctly is one of the pitfalls of efficiency. So you can be very, very efficient and achieve nothing. Okay. The execution of bad ideas flawlessly, right? It's going to give you the wrong results. So sometimes when and people say work smart, not hard, that is kind of what it's the same thing, it's the same message, right? Sometimes you can wrongfully pick the wrong task and execute it perfectly, but it won't get you anywhere. Okay. So let me give you an example of something that it'll resonate with a lot of you guys. So if you go to Disney World or Disneyland, you're gonna see you watch some of these employees are from an accountant's perspective are extremely ineffective. I mean, inefficient. They're extremely inefficient. Sorry. So I'm not a professional or an expert in asphalt uh, cleaning, but I'm pretty sure that painting a huge Mickey Mouse face on the middle of the street is not the most efficient way to clean the floor. But why would Disney encourage their employees to do this? Because Disney has one purpose, which is to create a customer. And how do they create a customer? By making sure that they walk into a park and they walk out ecstatic with their experience. And their experience is an accumulation of things that they see and stimulate their brain. And it could be something as inefficient as cleaning the floor by drawing Mickey Mouse on it. So it is possible that you can be effective at achieving your goals and your results and be extremely inefficient while doing it. And the only way to know that you are going to be there, that you're going to hit the mark, is because you know what your purpose is, you know what the goal is, you know what the desired result is, you know what is it that the client is expecting from you. Now let's talk about productivity. Okay, productivity is the state or quality of producing something. So sometimes we mix up the words. And the productivity is your capacity to produce, or it could also be defined as the effectiveness of productive effort. Now, why do I want to define this? And I'll show you in a minute, just because I want to show you a graph that brings all the components together. And the capacity is the maximum amount something can contain, or the maximum amount you can produce. So many a times we think about being efficient because we are being productive with all of the available capacity. And it is possible for you to achieve efficiency by being as productive as possible with all the available capacity. But you will not be truly effective until you bring results into the mix. And I know everybody knows this stuff. This shouldn't be new to anyone. Okay, no one really says, "Oh wow, I didn't know what these words meant." What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to change your thinking that productivity and capacity and maximizing your productivity within your capacity and output as much work per hour should not be your focus. Your focus is to what is the result? What does the client want? What will make the client happy? What will allow us to produce a new client? What will allow us to keep our clients loyal? And then focus on those results, because that's where productivity, capacity, and results meet. When all those three things meet in harmony, then we can be effective. I also think of in terms of graphing it out in a square here. If you look at effectiveness an efficiency, as we mentioned, efficiency is doing the right things or doing things, right? Effectiveness is doing the right things. But if you want to achieve both effectiveness and efficiency, we have to do the right things right. Which requires us to look at both productivity, right? How much we can output per hour, and also results. What is it that the client wants at the end? I mean, think about it. Have you ever worked really hard at something? It took you hours. Uh, it took you weeks. Whatever it is, right? It just took you a long time to do something, and you deliver it to the client, and the client literally looks at it for 2 minutes and sees right through it as if it was something mundane and appreciates it does not appreciate it at all. I mean, I don't want to say they ignore it, but it's almost like a piece of you just kind of like hurts a lot because you put all this effort into it and you think the client's going to be wowed by it, and then to come to find out that the client didn't really care. Think about all the hard work that we put to put a financial statement together. At the end of the day, the client says, "Oh, how much taxes do I have to pay?" And it's like, no, 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 it's not about taxes. Look at the chart of accounts and look at all the details and look at how many sub accounts are created and look at how I split up cost of goods sold and look at all the income categories. I group them up for you. And at the end, the client says how much taxes I have to pay. It's one of those really interesting things that happen. So if we don't know what the client wants, sometimes we can spend way too much time doing things that are worth nothing. And then when the client is disappointed because they didn't get what they wanted, and we're disappointed because the client doesn't value what we did, then we don't have a good work relationship. We don't have a good relationship, and it's just really hard to move forward. It's really hard to charge more. It's just really hard to be profitable, period. Now, I think of efficiency as all the things that connect with our left side of our brain, right? All the logical stuff, all the linear stuff, all the mathematical stuff. And effectiveness, I think of it as all this stuff that comes from the right side of the brain. How we feel about stuff, art, creativity, emotion. So we have to find the sort of the balance between, hitting the left side and the right side of the brain in everything that we do. Now, let me tell you about inefficient design. So the Golden Gate Bridge was when it was built, the material that was brought in, the metal, the steel, was coated with some sort of anti-rust, anti-corrosive material that turned into this orangey reddish color over time. And it wasn't meant like that. Like, no, the bridge was not designed to be red or orange. I mean, it's more of the color's orange, but it's a red. It was never designed to be this color. But it became so iconic that now the city of San Francisco or the state of California, whatever, they actually paint the bridge to make sure that it has a uniform color throughout at great expense and great inefficiency, because they could have just made the thing gray or silver or black so they don't have to spend so much in paint. By the way, the paint that goes into this bridge is extremely expensive. But why do they do this? Well, they do this because it's effective. Because when you look at that bridge, you think of San Francisco, you think of where you are. It's the only bridge in America that looks like that is that color. So it is iconic and it does speak to the soul. Okay, so that's a really important piece. Now, just in case you are wondering, there's an actual color. It's called the International Orange Golden Gate Bridge. You can actually buy that color. I mean, it's this color is so famous that it has its own code for it, because it is a type of paint that they actually have to buy. It's a formula for it to be consistent. But I thought it was interesting that it's an orange, not a red. I always thought it was red. While I was researching this, I figured out it was an orange. Anyway, what about relationships? Okay, relationships are inefficient. I mean, the nature of relationships is inefficient. Relationships are time consuming. You can't measure a relationship. You can feel it. Like, you can feel when someone loves you, you can feel when someone cares about you, but you can't measure it. And it's fragile. It's one of those horrible things about life, is that every relationship is at the brink of destruction, at the brink of, like, almost you have to tiptoe. You have to make sure you say the right things. Relationships are complicated. They're emotionally draining. Now, one of the things I like to say, or is that prenuptial agreements are efficient. They're as efficient as it gets. It's, we count our stuff before we get married. Something goes wrong, we can go our own ways. Everybody gets their stuff back, or at least their original stuff. But why don't people do prenuptial agreements? Because they're not effective at telling the other person that you are committed to a relationship. So there's so many things just throughout life that affect this whole concept of efficiency and effectiveness. Now, some of the things that I have learned that I think to be kind of like the keys to success is to have effective relationships. Number one, I would say there's no substitute for this, is trust. Okay, relationships are about trust. The only thing that sets a relationship apart is trust. And every relationship where there's distrust or lack of trust is doomed to fail. Now, transparency with feedback. So when someone cares about you a lot, they usually are quick to tell you the truth, tell it fast, and tell you exactly what they think. When they care about you a lot, but so much that they don't want to hurt your feelings, then they hold stuff back. And when they don't care about you so much and they just kind of want to butter you up, then they just give you the wrong feedback. Okay? They tell you what you want to hear. So an effective relationship is the one where there's transparency in feedback, where your customer will tell you, Hector, you messed up, right? Or I tell my customer, John, you messed up. And then from there, we can have a true conversation. But when there's no trust, people usually don't start a conversation like that, which is really the fastest way to get to the point. Now, one of the important things about effective relationship, I think, too, is respect for each other's time. Okay, although I'm not a big fan of measuring time, I am a big fan of respecting other people's time. And making somebody work twice, it is the most disrespectful way to show that you do not care about them, especially when it's blatant, especially when it could have prevented. Think about the level of frustration that happens when someone makes you work twice. And your customers have the same perspective. Like we all the time, when we clean our clients' messes, and we do the same thing every single month, we think our client is making us work twice. But we fail to see that sometimes when we ask the client a question that in their perspective is something that you should already know or you already asked, that is their version of you making them work twice. So you kind of have to be cognizant that both parties can think at any point in time that they're making them work twice. So just keep that in mind. Now, an effective relationship also, both parties have high interest on seeing each other succeed or taming a common foe. For example, when two people are both sort of against the IRS, whether it's an accountant and a customer, you tend to build that bond, that you're trying to stick it to the man, right? Those are the type of things that we do. I'm not saying that an accountant should, try to do something illegal or work against the IRS, but what I'm saying is that sentiment that builds bonds between people. Also, selflessness. There are clients that will not recognize how generous you are with your time and knowledge, but they are the ones that do. And I got to tell you, from my experience, the ones that do, they get top priority. The ones that tell me every once in a while, Hector, I saw your video on this, I saw your video on that, they get automatically top priority for everything they ask. Okay, why? Because they're showing interest in learning. They're showing interest on on just getting better. And the other piece that is important is remembering. I think remembering it's quite possibly one of the deepest, most complicated parts of relationships. Think about spouses, right? How devastating it is to forget someone's birthday. How devastating it is to forget someone's anniversary. And think about when you're dating or when you were dating. I think most of us here are probably already taken already above that. But when we were dating, the most valuable part for the other party was remembering, is the little details. And our customers are the same. Customer relationships are the same. Remembering little things about your customers are really, really impressive. Really, really impressive. Now, retention of lessons deriving from mutual experiences are also really important. Basically, this is like, when you go on vacation with your family, this is the one thing that most families bond over. When you go on a vacation with a family, the whole family is sort of experiencing the same thing. And those are typically memories that all have in common. This is why it's so powerful to take your family out for vacation. So with your customers, whenever we're going through tough times, tough experiences, let's try to, both of us have high level of retention of the lessons that are deriving from the work that we're doing together. Okay, moving on. Let me run a polling question here because there's a lot of content to cover and I don't want to miss it. So I'm going to run a quick polling question and then check if there's any questions or comments here. So I'm going to run the third polling question. Okay, so the polling question is up. We'll leave it up for about a minute. Let me see. Somebody says, I see the value of listen and remember. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody says, my wife forgot my anniversary, but I remembered. That's good. Lorene says, not all of us. I think maybe you were talking about the dating comment. Let me see. Let me see what else we have here. Um, What makes up questions and discussions needed to best address the needs, known and unknown by the client, in conversation to produce the most effective processes? James, that's a good question. I think I probably should dedicate a whole episode to that. So yeah, effective, up to me, effective questions is the most important piece of communication, which is pretty much the most important part of building that relationship. Let me see. Let's see what else. Okay, so yeah, just wondering who's going to Scaling New Heights. If you are going, come say hello, and let's hang out, let's chat. Michelle and I will be there. A lot of my accounting friends will be there. Hope to see a lot of you guys in there. Looks like 9% of you are all set to go, and that's 500 people. So that's 50 people from this webinar are going. So that's awesome. Okay, so I'll share the results real quick. So we have 14% of you, and we have over 500 people live are considering going. 11 have no idea what it is, so check it out, scalingnewheights.com. 9% are going, and 66 definitely not. There's only about 1,000 people in these, 1,000, 1,200 people in these conferences. So obviously, it's not everybody can make a trip to do these things. Okay, so let's talk about 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Probably one of the most sold books in the world. Okay, um, these are the 7 habits. So I don't want to get deep into them, but I think mentioning them is important because if you make them sort of a rule of thumb for your life, I think it helps quite a bit, especially when focusing on being effective. One is being proactive, not reactive. Just think about the future. Think about things that are going to possibly happen in the future. I think the most stark difference between an animal who has a brain and can think and a human is that we think about the future. I can't imagine any animals calculate things in the future. There are some studies about maybe some monkeys that can think about 3 or 4 steps in the future, but that's about it, right? Animals kind of just live the moment, which sounds great. But humans, we think about the future all the time. And almost every behavior we take today, it's about our thoughts in the future, right? So being proactive is it's one of them. Two is begin with the end in mind, right? Everything we're talking about here, focus on the results. So just go backwards from results, right? Imagine what it would be like when you're done, and then write down all the steps that requires you get there. That's usually the fastest path to the results. First things first, right? So obviously separate things into what's urgent and what's important. Win-win, extremely important, right? Every time you have a transaction with someone, both people have to profit from that relationship. Okay, both people have to profit from the relationship, regardless of what it is. They have to profit. They have to. One person, the person that receives the money, has to have a profitable transaction, and the person that pays the money has to have a profitable transaction. It's a double thank you moment, right? Where you pay for something and you're so happy to pay for it, and the other person is happy to take your money. The other one is first understand, then be understood. There's a lot of focus on wanting to have a voice and wanting people to listen to you. But if you don't understand the other person's side, if you don't understand how they feel, how they see life, it's very difficult to be understood. And synergize means whenever you adding two components or two people, make sure that the sum of the two is higher than the sum of the two. All right. So make sure that the results are higher than the sum of the two. And sharpen the saw. So Stephen Covey makes a point that you should always be learning new things, and you should always try to learn new things, because that what your capacity to create, to build, and problem solve, it is one of the things that make you effective. Now, the eighth habit, which is a book that came afterwards, which is sort of a reflection of the first book, is find your voice and inspire others to find theirs. One of the most effective ways to get people to love you and respect you is to help them, find what they're good at, help them find their purpose, help them find their path. When you help a lot of people along the way, you're going to build relationship capital. And relationship capital typically will trump monetary capital, because with enough people wishing you well and working hard to make things work for you, you will notice that just things just get easier. Just everything gets easier. Think about when we were kids, and our parents, our moms especially, just took care of everything for us. Like we magically wake up and there's breakfast, and we magically go to bed at night and our bed is made. That's what having people around you that support you feels like. Right? Everything is easy. And then once people are empowered, like people in your team, then you can delegate. A lot of times we delegate before we empower them. We have to teach them, we have to train them, we have to make people as good as us or better, so then we can effectively delegate. I find delegating one of the most religious experiences out there, when I actually have someone else do something that I had to do and have that peace of mind that I don't have to do it. I mean, it is such a fulfilling uh, moment when you can do that. And that's those are things that I've had with my team, and I find that to be just very powerful. Now, the other one is having an abundance mentality. Okay, a lot of people walk around thinking that the world is zero sum, that debits equals credits, that for someone to win, another person has to lose, and it needs to be the opposite. Everything that's out there, there's plenty for everyone. That needs to be the mindset. Okay, nothing out there is scarce. That needs to be the mindset. Okay, unless you're a diamond miner, I understand that would be a different story. Okay. Stephen Covey says something that's very powerful. It says, if the ladder is not leaning towards the right wall, every stake that you take takes you closer to the wrong place. So that has to do with efficiency and effectiveness. Okay. You think of effectiveness with people, and we think of efficiency with things. We must be efficient with computers. We must be efficient with machinery, but we must be effective with people. The last thing I'll leave you here, because this is an excerpt from a very long presentation that I'm doing at Scaling, is what I think are the most valuable life lessons that I have learned about business. One is bad customers drive away good customers. Having as many customers as possible feels efficient, maximum capacity. But having too many customers can make you ineffective with your best ones. The ones that care about you, the ones that fulfill your non-monetary needs of what makes you you, what makes you a professional. You know who those customers are. You wish you had more time for them. Okay, some customers require way too many resources, and we're talking not just talking about money and time. We're talking about the emotional capacity that we have to give. Value is subjective and pricing is contextual. Therefore, pricing based on value is effective, because that's when we know what the customers want, how they feel about what they're buying, we can price accordingly. And the clients that don't value what we're worth, they should be clients of someone else. There's always someone out there that can charge less than you. Always. Right? In the United States, there will always be someone. And assuming you are the one person in the US that charges the cheapest, there will be another one in Asia that would charge cheaper. It's just how it is. Right? There's always someone that would charge less. So trying to do that, fight price, it's no good. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. Okay? If you don't understand the problem, how can you be efficient at curing it? You could probably be efficient and cure the wrong thing, but you need to cure the patient. So you need to you have a full diagnosis. And then the last one is, in the real world, debits don't equal credits. Okay, inequality, it's life. Okay, things are not equal, and our job is to merge, right, the differences between that. So what I know, what my customer knows, is not equal, and that's okay. What the customer is willing to pay and what I'm willing to charge is not equal, and that's okay. And that is just that's just part of life. Okay, so let me run with that. Let me run the last polling question. Okay, and then we'll wrap it up after the polling question. I have just one more minute for the outro, and I hope that you enjoyed that. That's a 30-minute version of a 2 hour presentation, or 1 hour and 40-minute presentation that I'm gonna do in Alana. So somebody's asking, am I doing the same presentation as Scaling New Heights? Yes. I mean, it's going to be, I'm going to deep dive a little bit deeper, right? I included in the handouts about half of the slides, and I presented during the webinar about half of the slides. So that was about 25% of the presentation. So hopefully, I don't know if I'll be able to do everything on at Scaling New Heights. I'll try. I'll try, but I will go as deep as possible as we can. There's a couple of techniques and questioning techniques and illust- sort of illustrations that kind of help you communicate with your client. That kind of deep dive into that as well. Yeah. Okay. So let me go ahead and close the polling question, and I will share the results real quick. So most of you were familiar with it, but got maybe one or two tips out of it. 30 of you thought that almost everything was new. That's pretty impressive. I like that. And 10% knew all this stuff but are happy anyway, and 1% is disappointed, and that's okay. Can't please everyone. Um, it's funny. I have I read all my comments in YouTube. I read all my comments in YouTube, every one of my videos, and there's always a group of people that say you speak too fast, and there's a people that say, "Oh, thank you for speaking fast." So, can you can you even satisfy everyone? You can't. I mean, the ones that say you speak too fast, I say, well, slow it down. YouTube has a button you can press and you can slow it down. But what can you do? Anyway, so if you want to get QuickBooks Online certified, there's a multi-city tour still happening. It was May and June. If you're in Miami, we're doing both basic QuickBooks Online certification and QuickBooks Online Advanced certification. Michelle and I are doing it, and they also have in other cities. So go to qbtrainingevents.com to see if they have anything in other cities. And of course, if you don't go to Scaling New Heights, or if you go to Scaling New Heights, you could also check out the other QuickBooks conference in San Jose, California, November 5th to the 7th. Check it out at quickbooksconnect.com. And thank you again to our sponsors. All three of these sponsors have sponsored us for a whole year, and they help financially keep the show alive, right? Because Michelle and I have to spend a lot of time preparing for this and putting these together and doing the CPEs. So I appreciate T-Sheets, Aero Workflow, and HubDoc supporting us for this past year. Starting June, we don't know if they will continue to be sponsors or someone else. We'll see what happens. We're taking applications for sponsors as we speak. T-Sheets, Aero Workflow, HubDoc, once again, thank you very much for sponsoring the show. And I think the attendees thank you as well. And hopefully they use your apps as well. We don't have any topics for the next coming webinars. I'm hoping to be inspired at Scaling New Heights, and maybe I'll bring some of that stuff. So that's why we have no topics. There will be some QuickBooks Online, some practice management, and QuickBooks Desktop, and it's going to follow the every 2 week schedule from now on. The last thing I'll ask you to do, if you haven't checked out my podcast, Art of Advisory, check it out. You can subscribe to it or just like the page in Facebook, or you can also search it in iTunes for regular podcast format. And this is all about transitioning to becoming a consultant and advisor rather than a compliance accountant. Anyway, join our Facebook group, and if you have any comments or questions, email us to qbpowerhour@gmail.com. Thank you very much.